Hello class. Today we are doing 7.5. We're going to find the volume of a composite shape. Now a composite shape basically means that we have two shapes that are put together. That makes it a composite shape. It's not the same from top to bottom. Let's take a look over here. Here we have two shapes. We have a square prism on the bottom and a square pyramid on the top, okay? And so we are going to determine the volume of this composite shape, all right? So let's take a look. Here it says, find the volume of the composite shape, okay? The solid is made up of a square prism and a square pyramid. Find the volume. Well, we know when we find in volume for a basic shape like a square prism that we just multiply the three numbers. The base times the height would be the base, the length times the width, and then the height. And so 15 times 15, and then times 10. And so therefore we have the volume of our square, which is 2,250. Now we want to add to it the square prism pyramid. And so here we have to remember that the base, in this case, 15 times 15, we want a third of it, okay? Because it's not solid all the way through, okay? It has a pyramid top. So therefore, we get a third of the length times the width, 15 times 15, we take a third of that. Then we multiply it times the height, and we get 600. So at this point, we put these two together to give us the total volume of this composite solid, and therefore we have 2,250 plus the 600 gives us a total of 2,850 inches cubed, okay? All right, let's take a look here. We have a circular, okay, cylinder, two cylinders. One is a solid on the outside, the other the hole in the middle, okay? So let's take a look. It says find the volume of the composite solid, round your answers to the nearest 10. The solid is a cylinder with a cylinder-shaped hole. Find each volume. So here the entire cylinder, okay, from center to edge, okay, would have a radius of 9. But the opening would have a radius of 5, okay? So then let's take a look at that. Let's take the entire cylinder based on the height, which would be pi r squared, times R3, okay? Take the entire volume of the cylinder. Here we have 243, okay? And then pi. Then we take out the whole, okay? Pi r squared times 3, okay? And then therefore, we have 75 pi. And so when we take the whole amount, take out the whole, and we're left with this amount, then we multiply that times pi, and we know our total cubic meters, okay? All right, let's move forward. I'm going to use this half of the paper for our examples, all right? For our first example, we want to take a look here at this particular shape, okay? We notice that we have a square pyramid on the top and a square pyramid on the bottom, and they are exactly the same height and exactly the same length times width, okay? So the formula for our square prism is 1/3, and here you have base times height. So you have 1/3, in this case 2 times 2, 1/3. 2 times 2 times our h, which is 1.75. But the situation here is you have two of them. So all of this would be times 2. All right, so let's go. 2 times 2 is going to give us a 4 times our 1/3 times our 1.75. Okay, once again, so that when we take a third of the 4, we have 1.33 times our 1.75, and remember we have two of those. So let's go forward here. We have 1.33 times 1.75. So one of them is 2 0.33. So we times 2 on this. And so we round it to a 4.7. And so 4.7 feet cube. Okay, let's take a look at our second one here. Our second one here, we have a square prism, and then we have a cylinder in the middle. So if we ignore the cylinder, the hole that's in the middle, we have a square prism. So we have a 10, a 14, and a 12. Okay, and because it's solid from top to bottom, we know that a square, the base is length times width. So then we have the base times the height. So that's 10 times the 14, okay, times the height, which is the 12. Okay, so let's multiply that out. And so we have 14 times a 10 times a 12, and we have 1,680. Okay, all right. So then let's move on to the second concern. The second concern is this hole. This hole is a cylinder, and we know that the volume for a cylinder is still the base times height, but our base is pi r squared, and then our height is h. Okay, so our pi r squared, our r is 2, so we have 2 squared times pi times h. So that becomes 4. And then we have our pi, and then our h is 12. Okay, so that becomes 48 pi. Okay, and so if that be the case, we have our 1,680 minus, now 48 pi is actually 48 times 3.14, which gives us 150.72. So 150.72 equals. So we take our 1,680 minus our 150.72 equals, and in this case, we have 1,529.3 inches cube. Okay, and that's how that is done. All right, now let's look at our real life. Got to move a little quicker here. All right, in our real life, it says, what is the volume of the silver ring in an Argentina peso? Round your answer to the nearest tenth. The coin is a cylinder. The silver ring is a portion remaining when the inner cylinder is removed. Find the volume of each cylinder. So here you have the whole pesos, the silver outer, and then the darker inner, okay? And so therefore, what happens is you get the hold amount, okay? As we did up here, you get the whole shape, all right? And so they calculated the hold amount, all right? And then they calculated just the inner piece, which was a radius of 8.5. And you have this amount, and then they were able to subtract the 2. And once they subtracted the 2, then they knew the amount of the inner ring, okay? Because the whole amount subtract the inner ring, okay? And that will leave you the outer ring. So it says subtract the volume of the inner ring from the volume of the entire ring. So the 290 and then the 158, and then you have the 132 pi, and then you would multiply that times 3.14, and you would get the total amount. Okay, we need to quickly move forward to our workbook. Okay, so let's take our workbook here. All right, now for our workbook, we're taking a look here. There we go, that's better. For our workbook here, we're taking a look. All right, so then let's take a look now. We're looking at number 2, number 4, okay? Number 2 says find the volume of the composite shape, round your answer to the nearest tenth. Okay, so here you have a square prism and then a square prism hole, okay? So let's take the entire square prism, which is this outer piece here. So that gives us a 7, a 4, and a 6, okay? And when we multiply those out, 7 times 4 times 6, we discover that that is 168, okay? Now, we have to look at the inner, okay? The inner, we have a 2, a 4, and the same height of a 6. So we have a 2, a 4, and the same height as a 6. So let's multiply that out. 2 times 4 times 6, and we have a 48. So now if we want to find out the volume of the solid part, which is the gray shade part, or the shaded part, then we would subtract the 48 from the 168 minus the 48, and we discover that is 120 feet cube. Okay? All right, so now let's move on to number 4. It says an ornament is made of 2 identical square pyramids here, similar to the example that we had earlier. Find the volume of the ornament. So if they are identical, okay, first of all, our formula for our pyramid, okay, is that we would need to have 1/3 base times the height, okay? So now from there, 1/3, and the base is 2 times 2, and the height in this case is a 3, but we have 2 of them. Okay, so now 2 times 1/3, this is 4, then you have your 3, okay? So now 2, and then this is 1/3 of 4 is 1.33 times 3, okay? So now you take your 1.33 times 3, and you get 3.99. All right, and then so you multiply that times 2, and your answer is 7.98, which ultimately is 8, and we're measuring by inches cube. Okay, that is your lesson there.